There is a 7-state coalition that's being led by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, and they have filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration's Department of Health and Human Services for its rule that both forces healthcare providers to perform harmful gender transition intervention procedures, but it also requires states to pay for these procedures. So it's all on the back of taxpayers. And according to the Biden administration, failure to comply with this rule could lead to states having their access to federally funded programs like Medicare, like Medicaid, like children's health insurance programs, having these things eliminated. Well, joining me now to discuss this lawsuit is Missouri Attorney General, who is leading the way, Andrew Bailey. Attorney General Bailey, welcome back to the program. Always an honor to have you. All right, well, tell us about the Biden administration's rule.
This is the nadir of depravity from the Biden administration, forcing this radical transgender ideology in the form of dangerous, irreparable procedures on innocent children, and forcing doctors to perform those surgeries at taxpayer expense. The fount of legal authority that the president points to is Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act, but that provision provides no textual basis for the rule that the president has promulgated. And what we know is that post-Chevron, the courts are going to give no deference to an agency's interpretation of statutes. That's the court's job. And so if it's not present in the text of the statute, then the agency isn't authorized to do it. This is offensive not only to Missourians, but it's offensive to healthcare providers who would be forced to provide and perform these procedures against their own convictions and beliefs. So we filed suit. We've filed in the Eastern District of Missouri, proud to be leading a coalition to put a stop to it and protect children.
Well, as we so often say to you when you're on this program, thank you for your leadership on this and so many other issues. But yeah, when this is a rule that literally is compelling people to perform these surgeries, when they know these surgeries are harmful, that they result in permanent damage, it's stunning that the administration would be forcing this kind of thing. What does this tell us about how the LGBT ideology really controls this administration?
Well, it's permeated every aspect of the Biden bureaucratic state, the alphabet soup of federal administrative agencies for which there's no sanction in the United States Constitution, by the way. But what President Biden can't get passed through Congress because the people's elected representatives would never stand for it, he is trying to institute through the flick of a pen, and he's using these bureaucratic agencies to do it. But at the end of the day, what it is woke ideology and experimentation ahead of the health and safety of children. And that's the policy priority of this administration. But, one of the major kind of emphasized parts of this is its violation of the anti-commandeering doctrine of the 10th Amendment. Not only is this a terrible, morally abhorrent policy position, but it's the federal government hijacking the apparatus of state and holding all healthcare hostage if the state doesn't comply and get in line with this kind of radical, woke, left-wing experimentation on children.
Yeah, and let's go further into that. When you talk about them holding this healthcare hostage, I mean, literally, they are willing to cut off health insurance to vulnerable children, to low-income individuals, to seniors. Is this for real? Are they literally, the threat is there, but are they literally willing to cut off health insurance and cut off these programs just to advance their radical agenda?
Well, they certainly have been willing to do so in other contexts. Again, this is not the first time the Biden administration has weighed into this issue. They tried to use the USDA to hold hostage the kids' free and reduced lunch programs in schools if schools didn't adopt radical transgender ideology policies. They've certainly upended Title IX and said that public universities and schools will not receive funding for women's sports if they don't allow men into women's restrooms. And now they've taken one step further and reached the logical conclusion, which is actually the destruction of life through permanent alteration, dangerous cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers, lethal chemicals that have forever changed the human body, and irreversible surgeries to deny children the ability to enjoy the full spectrum of adulthood. At the end of the day, how dare anyone tell these kids God put them in the wrong body? We know he doesn't make mistakes. It certainly is morally abhorrent and violates the basic tenets of our constitutional structure.
It sounds like what you were just going through, a whole litany of examples that this is yet again another broader example of a pattern from the Biden administration to push, to threaten, to bully their administration on the American people. Is that yet again what we're seeing here?
Yeah, but pardon me, Jody, but yeah, you're exactly right. This is a pattern of behavior from the Biden administration, but it's escalated. We were talking about free and reduced school lunches and how they were going to hold those hostage and deny kids access to lunch food in schools. Then we were talking about bathrooms, and that's a public safety issue. And now we're talking about actual surgeries and administration of harmful chemicals. So this is an escalation in Biden's war on children and on basic gender ideology in favor of, again, woke left-wing experimentation. And I'm not going to let him put the health and safety of Missouri children at risk.
Well, it's certainly an attack on children. It's an attack on health care. It's an attack on the American system. It's an attack on the rule of law. And we had a federal judge that's already issued a preliminary injunction last week against the rule in a separate case. Tell me about that. Where's this stand, and where is all of this headed? What's next?
Well, I think so much of this is going to have to be resolved by the United States Supreme Court. So there is, a ruling out of a district court elsewhere that we're going to use to try to persuade the judge in our case to apply the same injunction. But, the problem is this is a lawless administration. He's told no by the judiciary, and then he does what he wants anyway. I mean, look at the student loan cancellation plan that President Biden put forward. We defeated him on that plan back in 2023, and yet he said he doesn't care. He's going to do Plan B. We've defeated him on Plan B, and yet President Biden takes to the stump and brags about his willful defiance of the United States Supreme Court. So when you talk about undermining the rule of law, this is absolutely a constitutional crisis of the president's own making.
Wow. It's just unbelievable. It seems like one week after the other, after another, one issue after another, we have a continual lawlessness that is being forced down our throats. Thank you so much, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Always an honor to have you on the program. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Jody.